Okay, you know about Standing Rock and what's happening there, and you've got the Dakota Access Pipeline, and that's a $3.8 billion project. What you might not know is who's financing it. So you might have heard about the companies that are actually own it. So it's a combination of Energy Transfer Partners. They're not the only ones. They're the ones that get talked about a lot. But there's Sunoco Logistics, there's Phillips 66, there's Marathon Oil, Enbridge and Marathon Oil. They're all invested into this pipeline. Then there are the companies who are giving them the loans to finance making that pipeline. And well, there's a movement afoot. Susan Sarandon was on our show, talked about it, to move your money out of the banks that are financing the pipeline if you disagree with what they're doing at Standing Rock. And next thing you know, that movement has caught fire a little bit, and the Seattle City Council decided to take action. Now, in their case, it's pretty significant action. So let me go to the stranger here to explain what they did. The Seattle City Council unanimously voted to end the city's relationship with Wells Fargo over the bank's financing of the Dakota Access Pipeline, its financing of private prison companies, and a regulatory scandal involving the bank's creation of 2 million unauthorized accounts. All 9 council members voted to take $3 billion of city funds away from the banks after, or that particular bank, after Seattle's current contract expires in 2018. And so $3 billion ain't nothing to sneeze at. So that is a very real action that is taken, and it's just the first city to do it. And the mayor agrees and has signed on to it. If there are more cities that do that, that's going to hurt the big guys. And so then they might want to reconsider exactly what they want to finance and how many citizens they're willing to crush along the way. So Joe, I take it that you agree with the idea of putting your money where your mouth is and taking action in this way.
Hell yes.
That seems clear. Yeah. So is it in this case? This is what started it, and I don't know who came up with the original idea. I know I heard it from Susan Sarandon and Josh Fox and a lot of people and in the Seattle case, it was definitely because of Standing Rock. That's what precipitated it. But am I late to this game? Is this something that others have thought of before? If a bank is taking an action you don't like, move your money out of it?
It's not a brand new idea, but I think there are 2 things that are pretty new. One, the number of people who are attuned to the power of their money and their desire to make it match their progressive values. I think after the election, millions, tens of millions of us realized that we have to take action not just at the ballot box, but in our daily lives. And so I think that's poured fuel on this energy. And second, if I may, I think that now in a way that there wasn't before, there exists a real alternative in aspiration. And that's where I think what we're doing, I hope that people will realize and agree it's an important part of creating progressive change. There's 2 ways we typically relate to businesses as progressives. One is by creating effective and necessary regulation. And the second is the way that we don't do enough, which is creating progressive alternatives.
Yeah.
Right? The way you discipline Wells Fargo is twofold. One, you make sure that people who violate the law go to jail. And 2, you make sure they know that when they do bad things, they will lose their customers. Now, we need to rely on our progressive politicians to make sure that when financial executives commit crimes, they go to prison. But as progressives, as consumers, or in my case, as a progressive entrepreneur, we can contribute to creating competition so that next time Wells Fargo thinks about doing something like stealing from 2 million of its customers, they'll know that they're going to lose even more customers who are going to go to places like Aspiration.
Yeah, I was on the call when there was a group of progressives who were thinking about moving their money out of these banks, and that was literally a question somebody asked. And I hadn't heard, honestly, I hadn't heard of Aspiration at the time. Yeah. And they said, well, where we're going to move it to? Yeah. And so here, let me show you a chart. So it's a $3.8 billion pipeline, but this is the $2.5 billion involving credit that, for example, Sunoco Partners is using, right? So that is an awful lot of banks there.
Yeah.
And you've got Citibank, you've got Wells Fargo, you've got,
you've got my bank, the Bank of Nova Scotia.
Bank of America's in there, et cetera. So
they're open Saturdays, so it's actually pretty helpful.
Yeah, and there's a bank
Saturdays
from Norway.
destroying the earth,
Right,
trade-offs.
Right, yeah.
So but you're right. I mean, look, even libertarians should agree. This is the thing that they always say. No, the market will decide.
Yeah.
So if the consumers are unhappy with those banks for taking those actions, then they'll move their money. Well, okay, now you got an alternative, and obviously we agree since we're progressives. And by the way, the city council in Seattle, I mean, they're not playing around. They also forbid the city from making a new contract with Wells Fargo or a new investment for a period of 3 years. So now what I like is exactly what you said, Joe, about the consequence for these banks. Now the next time they go to finance a project, they got to check themselves.
That's right.
Wait, how many billions of dollars is this going to cost us?
Yeah.
What if more cities do it, let alone the average consumer? And what if next time it's not 3 years, it's 5 years, it's 10 years, et cetera?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we never had this before, or maybe we did, and I'm again slow to the game. But I don't remember having an alternative where people could actually punish the banks instead of the banks punishing us. So, and again, not all banks are bad, but you got to do your research. And a lot of these guys are invested in a lot of stuff that we wouldn't agree with.